Scotland has a rich tradition in hunting that spans centuries. From deer stalking in Scotland's Isles to the shooting of game birds on large estates. I'm curious to learn about the modern hunting landscape in Scotland and what the future holds for the sport in this part of the world. Hunting has become a controversial practice in modern times. My name is Dan Cabela, and I'm traveling the globe to explore the true impact that hunting is having on our remaining wild landscapes. This practice goes as far back as human history can remember, but does it have a place in modern conservation? According to the British Association for Shooting and Conservation, it is estimated that over 1 million people participate in hunting or bird shooting each year.
There you go.
I am traveling to Scotland to begin my journey by participating in a traditional game bird shoot. The shooting of game birds, in particular pheasant, is a common practice in Scotland, typically on driven shoots on large privately owned estates. It's time for me to get suited up in the traditional tweed attire, a nod to the long-standing heritage. I've never done this type of shooting, really. I've done some similar type shooting, but this is a new thing, and we should have a good day for sure. Shooting on the large estates of Scotland has always been a fashionable country sport, but it's a new experience for me, and I'm a little out of my depth.
Okay, so these birds are going to be moving constantly. So for safety, we always keep our barrels pointed into clear blue sky. I'll call out distances for you. You've basically got to shoot where the bird's gonna be by the time your shot gets there. So I might say 4 foot, 8 foot, okay? And that's how far in front of you want to shoot, okay? Oh, seriously.
Okay.
Seriously, yeah.
Okay.
These things will be flying at 40 miles an hour and 60 meters up in the air, you know, way in front.
That's going to be
You
interesting.
shoot at the bird, you'll never hit one, right?
Okay, that's going to take some getting used to, I
It
think.
sure is, it sure is. This one here.
Finding the downed birds in this thick vegetation is nearly impossible. So, specifically trained bird dogs have the job of finding them and bringing them back to their owners.
There you go.
Quite a few birds here. Kind of surprising for as many times as I missed. But
You're getting better though. You're on the upward cycle.
but what happens with the meat?
We built a purpose-built cart for handling these birds. So once they're shot and they're collected up by the dogs and the beaters, all these are going back to a chiller, a game room. Okay, they'll all be hung, all paired up, and these are already pre-sold to game dealers. So game dealers come, they'll call the estate maybe once a week and say, hey, what have you got in the chiller? And let's say they say, oh, we've got 400 partridge in the chiller this week. Okay, so they come on up and they take these trays, and these are probably actually from the game dealer, so they'll just swap the trays, give them empty trays, take these trays as they are. And these are all taken away to big processing facilities where they're either plucked and dressed as whole birds, packaged, maybe just the breasts come off, something like that. Anything that's maybe slightly too damaged, maybe from a dog mouthing it a bit hard or something, they might end up going into a mincer for dog food and stuff like that. But these all end up in the food chain, every single one of these. None of this is wasted at all.
Everything's utilized.
Absolutely everything, yeah. Everything we can't sell into the human food market goes into a dog food market.
Hey, leave it, man.
The moorland in Scotland is a unique highland habitat that represents some of the country's last untouched wilderness and is home to a number of endemic species. After our morning shoot, I head out to meet up with Malcolm to learn more about the moors and the grouse that call it home.
So Dan, obviously we spent the day with Malcolm on the low ground with the pheasants and the partridges, but Malcolm, his true passion and his expertise lies on the high ground up here. This is the grouse moor. So I'm going to hand you over to him because he's definitely the expert in this. And he can talk you through what goes on up here, why, and what are we looking at here, Malcolm?
We've had to do quite an extensive bit of burning because there's a few factors in the moors in Scotland especially. You've got 3 different stages. You want a mosaic of heather. Here you want a fresh burn. You have to burn it to get young stuff coming on, and then you have your old heather. And then you've got cover for nesting ground.
Moorlands are susceptible to wildfires, and controlled burning is used as a management tool to maintain the health of certain plant species and prevent fires from getting out of control.
Our fires, we call them cool burns. They're literally just burning the tops off the heather. They're not burning down into the peat and damaging the peatland. It's just literally taking the top off and allowing fresh growth to come up from the bottom.
There are large-scale hunter-led efforts to restore damaged peatlands across the country, and hunters are incentivized to keep these ecosystems intact if they are to be able to hunt them sustainably into the future.
We encourage the people from the towns and the cities and to come out. They're more than welcome to come out the hill roads and experience what we do for a living. It's everybody's countryside. We all have to just work together.
There is an immense amount of effort that goes into maintenance and management of these moors to keep them in their natural state. How many people were out there today that were actively working?
Roughly 21, 22 people. That's in the lowlands. On the high ground, on a grouse day, we will be working between 35 and 40 people.
Britain's uplands and the peat beneath it form one of the most unique and vulnerable ecosystems in the world, which supports a whole host of species.
We have golden eagles, we have sea eagles, we have hen harriers, we have short-eared owls, curlews, they've got lapwings, they've got oyster catchers. All these birds are red listed, which means if we don't protect them, they're gone.
There are a number of other land uses that threaten these moorlands, from ambitious tree planting initiatives to wind farm construction. But there is also enormous conservation value in keeping these moors in their natural state.
I think what Scotland's had and having issues with at the minute is putting trees in the wrong place. I mean, people don't come to Scotland to look at thousands of trees. They come to Scotland to look at the hills and the views, where if it's covered in trees, you'll never see it again.
While the grouse inhabiting the moorlands are hunted, this land is managed to sustain healthy grouse numbers in the habitat that is protected. and as a result, supports a wide variety of species.
It's a great feeling to know that you're doing something good and taking something forward for when you're done that the next generation have got for them.
Scotland is also famous for its islands, and I'm heading to the Isle of Ling in search of a red stag. The primary use of the island of Ling is agriculture. It is also the home of Ling cattle, which is a hardy beef breed that thrives in adverse weather conditions. The Isle of Scarlet is nearby, and early the next morning, we set off to hunt a red deer. Hunting tourism can be a significant source of income for rural areas in Scotland. It attracts visitors who pay for licenses, accommodation, guides, and other services, and supports local economies and livelihoods.
You know, shooting and conservation, they work together. When we first sort of decided to move home, everybody would say, oh, what are you going to do up there? You know, there's not a lot of opportunity up there, but there's so much. And you can, it's just not obvious. If you, once you do one project and okay, well, that was a success, you get a bit of confidence and you start moving into other things. Back in the 1940s, 1950s, Ling and Scarborough weren't particularly valuable. You know, it was pretty poor grade farmland. On paper, it's still not particularly valuable land, but there's a magic about it as well, isn't there?
There is a magic.
And that, for us, I think, is the big thing.
There are also a number of estates which were historically utilized for agriculture exclusively. Today, regenerative agriculture has become popular and involves farming practices focused on restoring and enhancing the health of the soil and biodiversity, including having wildlife on the land.
So taking out bits of ground from agriculture, bits that are not particularly productive, and putting them into woodland and stuff that we can use not only for conservation, but also we can use for shooting and everything like that. We don't want to do too much to Scarborough. It's a wilderness. It wants to stay that way.
Well, and that's probably the best land use, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, hunting is
Yeah,
the ideal land use.
yeah, absolutely.
After waiting out the worst of the weather, it's time to land and begin our search for a red stag. Legal hunting is tightly regulated in the UK, including Scotland. This regulation ensures responsible hunting practices, such as adhering to bag limits, hunting seasons, and ethical guidelines.
There's a group of hinds just over there. We haven't investigated any further yet. Bound to be a stag nearby. So we're just going to work our way up. I'll let him have a look. Just Definitely got deer out there. Just spotted a stag. Could be what we're looking for. They're about 360 meters at the minute, so I want to get a little bit closer for a closer look. So obviously we're going to try and take a nice old boy out of here.
Hunting red stag on the island of Scarborough can definitely have its challenges. We've had some really rough weather. There's quite a bit of climbing, and it's a pretty rugged environment.
It's about 40 plus deer around this corner. So we've got a lot of eyes looking at us.
Okay.
Couple of challenges. One is we might lose a hat when we stick our head over the knoll. Two is he's looking straight in our direction. Movements, he's gonna see. It's gonna make it difficult. He's just under 200 meters, so it's a decent shot.
It's laying down.
Currently laying down. but he's looking straight in our direction. But he's a good old boy, and he'd be a good one to get out here.
See if you can see it. Yeah, look.
Oh, yeah. That's where that other stag was.
Mm.
Yeah, there's another one there now as well. We're gonna have to get this to stand up. There you go, get ready.
See where he's had a little bit of fighting and he snapped a tip off this year, but his crowns are shrinking, and it's a good example here where he would have had 2 blades coming out and this one's shrinking in, and this is a fast forward version. There would have been 2 blades. You can see here the bump on the side. There would have been another point coming out here, and it basically shrinks back into its antlers like this, and then what we start to see, the shrinking at the top, and then the last throws of his life, he'll grow long bottom tines here like this. So he shrinks from the top and he grows from the bottom. And that's how we really clearly identify he's an older stag.
While there is a strong anti-hunting sentiment within the UK, there is also a strong argument for the contribution of land allocated to hunting, improving conservation as a whole.
That side down.
We've been here briefly, been here for a couple of days. I mean, drove in, saw the cattle. We've eaten your beef. It's amazing, very natural. And then we of course, crossed the water to where we hunted our stags today, and there's oysters in between.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've tried the oysters, extremely fresh. Shot the stag today. We've had the tartar. I think we're gonna have some more tonight. I mean, you guys have a very natural thing.
We're very spoilt with all the fresh produce we can get our hands on here. You know, farm on an island. We've got fishermen on the island who do scallops and langoustine and everything like that, and lobster whenever we want it. And obviously over to Scar, we get the fresh venison. We can get a bit of boar over there if we like, and then obviously on the shooting side, a lot of pheasant, a lot of partridge, a lot of duck, and then on the farm side, lamb, beef. This evening, nice bit of strip loin from a Ling steer.
It's kind of the way we invented it, right?
That's it.
You got it all in one spot.
I know. We're very lucky, aren't we? Cheers, anyway.
Hunting has deep cultural roots in Scotland, forming part of its heritage. Its role in Scotland's conservation landscape is evolving, but without doubt, it has a place in protecting the country's biodiversity and natural ecosystem for the future.